Today we're going to be talking about addiction and give a general overview of what it is. I always like to talk about addiction as a neurological disorder that affects individuals and their ability to function to their basic capabilities. Addiction is a really complex topic because it affects multiple things. Brain, it affects our psychology, it affects how we connect with others, and we have the more typical signs, which is everything that we see in the external world. Our ability to function gets limited, our life gets affected. So I think that when we talk about addiction, it's important to dissect it and really evaluate all the influencing factors for that. I always like to start with the brain. I think that when we talk about addiction, it's important to always take into account that medical perspective, that the limbic system gets hijacked, that prefrontal cortex starts working less and less every single time. And the dependency starts by simply creating some changes in the brain where now our brain gets hooked up on external chemicals. And the moment that happens, there's a complete change that takes place where we no longer are ourselves. It becomes about survival, it becomes about what gives us pleasure, what gives us response, and not about what we need or want as it pertains to things that are important to us. So when we talk about addiction, we're talking about losing control, losing ourselves, losing who we wanted to be, and becoming solely imprisoned to whatever substance of choice we have chosen. I think that the other part of this is that psychological component, going through those obsessions, those compulsions, going through that delusional thinking, those cognitive distortions, irrational thinking. We get almost imprisoned in our own mind. Especially the obsessive thinking can be very overwhelming, can be very trapping, and it's really difficult to work through that, and sometimes those that love us and care for us don't understand that experience, and sometimes we hear things as just stop, or you're capable of just stopping. If you just pray enough or want it enough, it can happen, and it's not as simple as that sometimes. And it's important to really understand that if you're struggling, if it's difficult for you to stop, we understand, and it's okay. And it's about you really understanding what you're going through so you have a better chance of grasping the situation. When we talk about that social component, I think that's what most people see, which is the isolation, the unhealthy relationships, being able to regress to unhealthy settings. And ultimately, as I said earlier, when it comes to the addiction, we have one purpose, which is just getting high. So when it comes to relationships, family and dynamics, work, or any other social component, it really doesn't matter anymore. It's all about just getting that next fix. And sadly, that's where most people get affected, meaning our loved ones. They see us from the outside declining and changing, losing ourselves and becoming somebody they cannot recognize. And it can be very painful for us and for them. And when we talk about biological perspectives, obviously our body is going to be affected by that usage. We can develop many medical conditions or simply experience consequences from that using. So when it comes to the addiction, it's a very complex disease that with understanding and management, you can get a hold of it. So that was a short overview of what addiction is and how it affects us and that biological, psychological dimensions. We're going to be diving into that a little bit more in a different video. If you're struggling with addiction, yourself or a loved one, feel free to reach out to us and check out our website so we can support you through that process.